On Overdrive this week, Bert takes on the harshest terrain in Iceland with the new Land Rover Discovery Sport. Auto Selector with Bert and the headlines from the world of auto. Overdrive has a hot date with the Tasmanian Devil. Hello and welcome, you're watching Overdrive. Now this week, the show travels to the snowy exotic barrens of Iceland where Bert is testing the all-new Discovery Sport from Land Rover. It's one of those times where the location threatens to steal the show from the car. Or will it? Well, let's find out what Bert has to say about this new SUV from Land Rover.
Not exactly the conditions to be driving around in, but that's exactly what we're here in, well, a snowy, windy and cold Iceland to discover. The new Discovery Sport from Land Rover coming down to India sometime in August 2015. As you can see, it's pretty cold, so I'm going to try and get myself into the car pretty soon, drive this and get you all the impressions on what the Discovery Sport is like. The Discovery Sport will kick off a whole new family of Discovery branded vehicles globally as well as in India. Now the Discovery Sport is an extension of the Range Rover's Evoque platform, except that it's longer and larger than the Evoque. But there's a mix of materials used in the Discovery Sport. You've got high strength boron steel, you've got magnesium and you've got some aluminium. Aluminium has been used in the hood, in the roof and of course the tailgate. Now all of this contributes to about a 17% weight saving. And that of course leads to better efficiency, better performance, dynamic and various other abilities. Aluminium, by the way, is also used in suspension components, so that unsprung weight adds to the efficiency quotient. I'm not a big fan of the way the Discovery Sport has been styled. The exteriors, especially the front end with the slim headlamps, the sculpted grille, the clamshell bonnet. This, yes, bears a lot of resemblance to the rest of the SUVs that belong to the Land Rover and Range Rover family. There's a lot of that DNA embedded in this SUV as well. But I think somewhere down the line it loses a bit of that character. I'm a big fan of the Discovery 4, and even though it's got those slab-sided looks, a very squarish breadbox styling, I think that SUV has a lot of character, and some of that, I guess, is lacking in the Discovery Sport. I would have wanted this SUV to have its own unique character, and that is something I'm not getting to see in this SUV. The Discovery Sport will be offered in two engine trims when it comes down to India, and there's the 150 horsepower TD4 and the 190 horsepower SD4. The only difference between the two will of course be the performance and the efficiency. Though the SD4 is what I'm driving, and that's pretty impressive. Power delivery is very linear, progressive, and in either engine spec you will get about 420 Newton meters of max torque. So for every condition, every situation, the Discovery Sport will be more than adequate and capable. Suspension is pretty contemporary for the Discovery Sport, definitely better than what the Freelander offered. It's got a multi-link rear axle with quite a bit of aluminium in the construction, and you got magnetic dampers as well, which provide a flat, even ride quality and of course better improved dynamic abilities. Now the magnetic dampers effectively use a magnetic field to stiffen the damping properties, so that's what leads to better ride quality, and of course it adjusts itself depending on the conditions or the terrain that you're driving on. The Discovery Sport also gets a Haldex differential with full-time four-wheel drive. However, there is also the option of an active driveline, but I'm not sure at this point in time if that's what's coming for the Indian market as well. But what the active driveline does is allows the Discovery Sport to switch between two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive modes. That means in two-wheel drive you get better efficiency, in four-wheel drive you'll get better dynamics and off-road ability. Speaking of off-road ability, This Discovery Sport comes with the terrain response system. That's the slightly older but still as competent system as you can get for off-road capabilities. And you get a choice of different driving modes. There's snow, grass, gravel, rocky roads, and of course a highway mode as well. The strongest USP of the Discovery Sport is going to be the 7-seater package. That's what's coming on offer for Indian consumers. And that's the 5+2 seats. The last row of seats, of course, will be folded into the floor, and well, you can release those seats if you want to seat more than 5 people, or just fold that into the floor pan and you get extra luggage space. But this also means you won't get a full-size spare wheel, but a space saver will definitely be on offer. The Discovery Sport's also one of the few SUVs in the JLR range to get the full 5-star NCAP rating. So there's a host of safety on board, and that will play a very big role in the mindset of the Indian consumers, especially since safety is top of the mind right now back home. The Discovery Sport will replace the Freelander globally as well as in the Indian market, and it's expected to go on sale from August 2015. It will compete against the Mercedes-Benz ML Class, the Audi Q5, the BMW X3 and the Volvo XC60. So expect the pricing to be somewhere about 40 to 50 lakhs in that bracket. And Jaguar Land Rover will manufacture or rather assemble the Discovery Sport in India to keep the pricing competitive. Overall, a pretty good package. And of course, like I said before, the USP for this is going to be the 7 seats, which will come as standard for Indian consumers. Overall though, this is a fairly competent package, comfortable ride quality, definitely good interiors, good build quality as well. And its strongest USP is going to be the 7-seater package, which will be standard, as I mentioned before, for the Indian consumers. And no other SUV in the Indian market has that on offer. So that should definitely make this a very tempting option to go in for.
The Discovery Sport is key to JLR's plans of consolidating their success both globally as well as in India. And speaking of success and profit, Tata too will be banking very heavily on it. On that note, it is time to take our first break. But don't go anywhere, because on the other side, Bert's joining us to answer all your queries on Auto Selector. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive, and it's time for our Auto Selector segment where Bert joins us to answer all your motoring doubts and queries. Bert, this time we've got 2 questions. The first one comes in from the capital city. Anil Advani wants to buy an automatic sedan in the sub 15 lakh rupee category. He wants a refined engine and backseat comfort. Now, his monthly travel is about 1200 kilometers, so he isn't sure whether he should go in for a petrol or a diesel. So would you help him out, Bert?
With your mileage that you put on every month, that's really not a lot of kilometers. You're just putting about 440 kilometers a day. In that case, just use the petrol, don't go in for a diesel. The ownership cost for a diesel will definitely be much higher in that case. Nonetheless, the most refined car in that segment, there are 2 choices actually. There's the Skoda Octavia and the new Toyota Corolla. My recommendation goes the Toyota Corolla. We've just come off driving it at the jury round for the Overdrive CNBC TV18 Overdrive Awards, and that's a fantastic car, to be honest. Great packaging, good styling, interiors and exteriors. The ride quality also is brilliant, and the petrol engine on that, the 1.8 litre petrol engine, very refined, very smooth, and of course it's got the Toyota build quality as well. The Octavia, on the other hand, not a bad car also, fantastic car, great dynamics to add to all of that, all of those advantages that the Corolla has to offer. Pricing as well, both are similarly priced, somewhere about the 13.5 to 14 lakh rupees is where you should get a variant in either of these cars. My suggestion, again, head down to a showroom, get a test drive from both of these, though my recommendation goes with the Toyota Corolla. Fantastic package overall.
We've got one more question that we can take, and this one comes in from Manush Nandan. Manush has decided to buy a motorcycle for £1.5 lakh. Now, his list includes the Bajaj Pulsar 200 NS, the Honda CBR 150R and the Yamaha R15 version 2.0. Now, his priorities are performance, easy handling and fuel economy.
Manoj, my suggestion is look at the Pulsar 200 NS. Of the motorcycles that you've listed out, the CBR 150R and the R15 version 2, the 200 NS definitely is one of the best choices available in the market today. Again, it's not got focused dynamic abilities like, let's say, the R15, but where performance is concerned, it's the most powerful, and definitely turn of speed in that is much nicer than the other two motorcycles. And of course, looks great as well. And fuel efficiency, that motorcycle has been tuned to deliver better fuel efficiency than everything else in the segment. Not really up there, but nonetheless very respectable figures from that bike. On the other hand, if you are ready to extend your budget by a bit more, a few thousand rupees more, then you also have the option of going in for the KTM Duke, the Duke 200, and that should be a good choice as well. Great motorcycle in the city. Shumi vouches for that motorcycle. He's owned one himself and has ridden it extensively and swears by that motorcycle, to be honest. So that's probably the best choice. So my suggestion, extend your budget by a few more thousand rupees, go in for the Duke 200. That will probably be the most satisfactory motorcycle you'll ever have possessed so far.
Well, that's all we have for Auto Selector this week, but do write into us at helpdesk@overdrive.co.in and we'll get Bert to answer all your motoring queries. Now it's time to head into our motoring news section for this week.
The Symposium for International Automotive Technology returns for 2015 and continues with the theme of the 2013 edition of envisioning a cleaner, quieter and safer automotive environment. Well, the sights and the sounds of this expo reflect exactly that, and there are a lot of new promises from the ARAI. Let me show you what they are.
SIAT also hosted an exhibition where equipment manufacturers and solution providers showcased varied technologies and processes that fell in line with the 2015 SIAT's theme. The expo also included technology and solution providers who showcased their expertise in eco-friendly processes like emission control, air quality analysis and after-treatment technologies. ARAI also announced they are setting up a new facility in Chakan near Pune to employ better automobile safety regulations in India, which will have a new passive safety lab equipped to assess automobiles with frontal, offset and side impact tests. The new facility is expected to be operational by late 2015 or early 2016. This week we look at driving on wet or oily roads. The main concern in these conditions is skidding or aquaplaning off the road. Most such incidents occur when the driver hits a bad patch, moving too fast or tries to brake too hard. To keep yourself safe, remember the smooth ABC plan. Accelerate smoothly, brake smoothly and corner smoothly.
Don't go anywhere, because on the other side we've got a small and pocket-sized but deadly weapon waiting to be unleashed onto the streets of Mumbai, and I have the precarious job of putting a leash to it. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Now, Fiat has been one manufacturer that has always intrigued us. Now, their presence in India precedes most foreign manufacturers, but they've never really consolidated their position in the Indian car market. Now, sure, they saw a lot of success with the multi-jet diesel engine, which they licensed to other manufacturers, but they've always been very averse to launching new products. Not to mention other niche brands within the Fiat family umbrella, much like Jeep or Abarth. Want to know what India is missing out on? Here, take a look at one such example. Good morning. Well, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, well, I'm not here for a jog. Bert called up last night and said I needed to test a car, and it's a Fiat. So I'm wondering maybe it's a new variant. But then I got here and I saw that it's no ordinary Fiat, it's a Fiat 500. But then I actually got real close to the car and I saw that it's no ordinary Fiat 500 either. This is the Abarth 500. Suddenly this morning just got a whole lot more interesting. So, first impressions of the Abarth 500 as I'm driving it is that it's got a very nice sporty interior. It's got a nice chunky steering wheel. It's got very nice bucket seats. There's so much bolstering that it's going to prevent you from getting thrown around in this car. But are the interiors, do they really feel as special as the Mini? Not quite. The version of the Abarth 500 that we are driving is the 595 Competizione. It's got the 500 skewed proportions, and I'm usually averse to using that word for cars, but it does exactly that to you. Bring a smile to your face, the way puppy dogs or hamsters do. But the 595 with the lower bumpers, bigger air dams, rear diffuser and quad pipes, and the Scorpion Abarth badges sort of reminds me of the Tasmanian devil. Do not be fooled by that adorable size, it can cause some serious havoc. But my absolute favorite element has got to be the beautiful, beautiful rims. One of the best I've seen in a production car. This car gets driven by a 1.4 litre Fiat T-Jet turbo petrol engine. But on this car, well, the Abarth engineers get to tune it to 160 horsepower, which is a lot for the size of this car. It's a great sounding engine. Once again, the sound of the engine just belies the size of this car. It sounds like a much bigger car when you're driving it. And that just adds to the actual fun of driving it as well. That incredible exhaust note is the result of reduced back pressure from Abarth's record Monza exhaust. Abarth has used the same engine unit as seen on the linear T-Jet, added a bigger turbo, and modified the ECU settings and fuel mapping to extract that bit of extra performance. The T-Jet engine gets mated to an automated manual transmission, so there's no clutch lever, which makes driving in the city a little more painless. But then on the other hand, the inherent characteristic of an automated manual transmission is that jerkiness in character, which can be quite disconcerting. Now, AMTs are offered on the likes of the Celerio and of course even on the likes of the Lamborghini Aventador. But on those cars it kind of makes sense because you think of it, on the Celerio you're not really paying that much money for it, and on the Aventador, well, the acceleration is just so brutal that it kind of makes it fun. But on this car it can get a little uncomfortable. But then if you want to remedy it, you just put it into manual mode right here and you can shift on your own. Now this makes it a little more predictable for the driver, but for the passenger it's still just going to be a little disconcerting, the jerkiness of it. But the upside of the AMT is of course fuel efficiency. Now this car does about 11 kilometers to the litre in the city, and if you take it on the highway that figure goes up to about 16 kilometers to the litre, which for a car that does 0 to 100 in a claimed 7.8 seconds and does over 200 kilometers an hour, that's quite incredible. So does the 500 also have a go-kart mode just like the new Mini? Well yes, it's called sports mode of course. Now one press of a button is going to transform the car. You can feel a lot of weight behind the steering wheel now. You can feel the suspension becoming even stiffer than it already is. And just look at the dimensions of this car. I mean, the rear axle is just somewhere behind me. It's almost as if I'm sitting on the rear axle. It just kind of makes you feel like you're actually driving a go-kart. And believe me, it sticks to the road as well, just like a go-kart. This is just such a hoot to drive. Now doing speeds over 200 kilometers an hour in a cabin that is this small can get a little bit unnerving. But fret not, if and when that does happen, and God forbid, well, as many as 7 airbags will open up in this small cabin, cocooning you from any kind of damage. Pardon me while I enhance my vision just a little bit. Now, when you look at this car from the outside, you realize that it sits quite low. The ground clearance isn't all that much, but when you go over a speed breaker, like this one back here, and which was a pretty decent sized one, you realize that the underbelly doesn't really scrape all that much. And what helps it is of course the shorter wheelbase. Well, I know I've gotten you all excited about this car, and well, now I'm going to have to disappoint you. You see, I'm not entirely sure that Fiat is ready to launch the Abarth brand in India in 2015. And even if they do go ahead and launch this car, it's going to be priced close to 30 lakh rupees. So is the fun really worth the price tag? Well, my friend, that's all on you. Well, sorry to disappoint you guys, but no one will be happier than Team Overdrive when Fiat does manage to launch the Abarth badge products in India, and not to mention Jeep, of course. Let's hope that that day does come soon. On that note, it's time to wrap this episode of Overdrive. Please do interact with us on Twitter and Facebook. We love talking to you guys. Until next week, drive safe.